your two hosts, Carlos and Dylan.
What's up, Gator Nation? How you doing today? For the second time this season, we have a fun recap instead of having to explain why this happened and this and that happened. I do have one question, but I think I got answered by Brandon Olson because I didn't like the timeout from Billy Napier. I would have let the 10-second runoff, but I understand why he did it. But he was playing with fire, in my opinion.
No, shout out. That was Cam. Cam asked that question at the game. Billy Napier explained it pretty well. He actually, it was more on the refs than anything else. The refs said that they declined the 10-second runoff. That's actually not what happened. So Texas had the choice of declining or accepting a 10-second runoff. Obviously, they declined it because why would Texas want a 10-second runoff? So the clock was stopped anyways. So Napier kind of just called the timeout to get one of our best players back on the field. Without
I was like, what is Napier doing?
Yeah, I wasn't watching on TV, but I heard that the announcers, made it super confusing, and I get why now.
Yes. So, and I was like, which, anyways, if he had to call it to keep Barber in there, I would understand, even though that would be still playing with fire because you're giving Archie more time. But I felt the way the defense was playing, it really didn't matter.
Definitely. Well, I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think Napier said something along the lines of it went from 59 seconds. It would have been like 15 seconds if they didn't get the penalty there and the stoppage. So that was really because with the way that defense is playing, 15 seconds. That's one play. If they get a sack, that game's over. So I think that's critical play.
Do you believe that Eugene Wilson is officially demoted? Because to start, when Billy was here to start off his tenure, he was quote unquote the next joystick, the next number one receiver. We know his injury history, which might hurt him for the draft. But to me, he's now number 3 or number 4 down in the depth chart. I don't know. I may be reading things wrong, but Dallas Wilson and VB3 have officially become 1 and 2.
Yeah, I mean, you saw it against Texas. He didn't. I don't know if did he have a catch. I didn't see on the stat sheet.
I don't think so.
I remember him getting targeted.
I know he was on the field, but I didn't see a catch.
The one time that I can remember him being targeted, it was probably DJ Lagway's worst throw, and Napier said that too, that it was his worst throw. It was he threw it into triple coverage. He threw it where it shouldn't have gone, trying to force it to Eugene. And I think that's kind of where this stems from is Lagway and Trey have not had, that chemistry that you kind of expected them to. I think you mentioned it when Trey was a freshman. He was electric. He was one of the best freshmen in the nation. Not necessarily the way that VB3 and Dallas look because they're special, man. This is something we haven't seen before, in a long, long time. But, Trey, not taking away from Trey's freshman year, he was phenomenal. And, I don't know if it's being away with injuries. I don't know if it's kind of just, a lot of times you see these guys come in and they fit a role great. And, Trey was kind of that gadgety guy that, you give him end arounds, you give him a lot of that stuff, and he was super successful. I don't know if it's now that his role is kind of being asked to, take a step, be the route runner, be the downfield threat.
Yep.
So I'm not too sure why, but I think you can definitely say that, J-Mike is J-Mike is certainly, a wide receiver they're going to play a lot. Dallas Wilson is certainly a wide receiver they're going to play a lot. VB3 is certainly a wide receiver they're going to play a lot. So I think it's going to be tough for Eugene to get back on the field and get as many snaps as he was expected to.
Again, I think J-Mike, even though he's on the field, he's officially got a demotion. He's not one and two anymore to me.
Yeah, you got to remember, most of the time you're starting 3 wide receivers. I think J-Mike is the outside. Dallas Wilson's the other outside, and then you got not Eugene. VB3 in the slot. I think J-Mike, I'm a big J-Mike guy. I have been for a while. And he looked good on Saturday, man. When the ball gets thrown his way, I know a lot of people are turning on him a little bit, the same way that a lot of people are talking about Eugene because they had super high expectations. But when the ball gets thrown J Mike's way, he makes plays. I know. I wish, I think a lot of people wish he scored on that nice flick from Lagway. He had one man to beat. I think, he was just a tackle away from a broken tackle away from scoring there. So I do think that Dallas and VB3 are breaking out as these two elite talents. And, I don't think that takes away from someone like Trey, and that doesn't take away from J Mike, because they're really good still. And I think, Trey's tough one because he hasn't been necessarily good this year, but we know that he's a talented wide receiver. So I wouldn't necessarily expect him to go away by any means. I think, you mentioned it, wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2, it does seem like those two freshmen are just dominant factors and you have to get them the ball. But I wouldn't expect to see less of J Mike. And I think Trey still contributes, not as much as we expected, but I think he still contributes this year.
Yeah, not sadly enough, I dubbed Trey when he first came in as the next Percy Harvin.
Yeah, that was listen. That's it's the same thing as Lagway. You come in and you see these guys have phenomenal freshman years, and you want to get ahead of yourself. I'm not saying I think it's a little different because we saw on Saturday that Lagway's he's still that guy, man. I think a lot of people were giving up on him. I kept telling you guys he's gonna find it. Trey, we haven't seen that necessarily as much, but it is tough because the same way that the two freshman wide receivers are looking phenomenal right now, that was Trey. His first year, he was doing obviously not to the same extent because these guys look generational, but he was a really good player, and I think he still is. I just think, temper your expectations now because when you have two alpha freshman wide receivers like we have, and then you throw in Aiden Mizell, J Mike, more talented guys, it's going to be tough for Trey to really find a role that we expected year one.
What's the status of Duke? Is he done?
Yeah, we didn't get too much. I know, Napier loves to tell us Wednesdays when the injury report comes out. So we'll get it on Wednesday. That's his favorite line, it feels like. So we didn't get too much on that. Napier kind of he was asked about it, and he kind of alluded to it's a week-to-week thing with the running backs. It's like, I don't think anyone really expected Jacoby Jackson not to be out there until he popped up on the injury report. There was no reports on it. And then, Duke steps up out of nowhere and he plays really well until he gets banged up. I expect that Jacoby Jackson will at least have a chance to play. I haven't heard that he won't. I haven't heard that the injuries, long term. So I think, obviously Duke being in a sling, I think that's pretty worrisome. I don't know necessarily the whole, context of the injury, but it's tough for a kid that kind of was having a little bit of a breakout there, kind of showing everyone that he can handle a workload and he can build out a role in this offense.
Yeah. No offense to Duke, though. I got my wish. I got to see Ball carry it 27 times because it was forced on Billy Napier to do that. And it proves awesome. My point. He could be a workhorse.
He was awesome, and I think I think we'll get into it a little more later in the show about why Florida won this game, but I think that had a lot to do with it. Is Jaden Ball getting all that work and making Texas respect them a little bit?
From your observations, why did we win the game and dominate Texas? Because we looked like the number 9 team in the country. Texas did not.
Yeah. I mean, it was a little tough for me just because I was on the field, and you would think it's easier to watch the game when you're on the field because you're right in the action. But it's really hard, man. Sometimes you don't even know. You see Jaden Ball go into a pile of 10 people, and you're like, where the hell did he go? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But from my feeling, I mean, the number one thing for me, and we were talking about this with Napier for the entire week, is the deep passing game. DJ Lagway was last year the best deep passer in the country, according to PFF. He had one of the best grades of any passer on passes 20-plus yards downfield. And this year, he was one of the worst coming into Texas. He had I wrote a story. He had no completions 20 plus yards downfield against FBS opponents until Texas.
I
He only
remember.
had one against LIU, and that was the
Yep.
BB3 catch, which was insane. So, that was a big thing on why this offense wasn't clicking and why Lagway didn't look like himself, because his best asset and his best kind of ability was missing. You know what I mean? Like it was non-existent, and for whatever reason, if it was just if it was as simple as just being Dallas Wilson, which I think definitely has a little bit to do with that, they got it going, man. I mean, they hit the Dallas Wilson for the 55-yard touchdown. Obviously, that's the big one. VB3 downfield made a phenomenal catch,
That was crazy.
and
That
from
was
what I've heard,
crazy.
he was open, man. It wasn't like, that was kind of just a prayer shot. He was open. I think the ball got to him a little late, but huge play by him. Even, J Mike, I mentioned, he had some big plays there. I think he only had two catches, but two catches for 41 yards, and he had some nice receptions. So I think that was the number one thing that stood out for me, was getting the ball downfield, deep passing, which it felt like Florida was scared to pass the ball versus Miami. It felt like that versus LSU when they threw 5 interceptions. Versus Texas, it felt like they could do whatever they want passing. I mean, you think back to, we had another drive where we were on our way to scoring until Hayden Hansen fumbled the ball. He
Yep.
just got us
We would have scored
down
that.
into scoring position. So it felt like the offense was clicking because of the downfield passing. And I mentioned it, the Jaden Ball usage, I think the Jaden Ball usage opened that up in a way. It felt like in games before, it was always like, wow, look, our run game is really nice, but we can't use it because the teams are just, stacking the box. The teams are expecting us to run, and we're finding no success. We found success on the run game. We established the run. We gave them 27 carries, did you say?
27 carries.
27 carries, established the run. He was dominant in the game. And that's when the team start realizing, oh man, like we got to go all out to stop Jaden Ball. And then we beat him over deep. We beat him with Dallas Wilson on the outside, one-on-one coverage. And that's when they say, oh man, we got to respect the deep passing game. And that opens up the offense. They're playing on their heels. So I think it was a combination. I mean, the defense has always been elite. The defense has always been
we have
great.
a championship defense.
And I mean, they took even a step up. They got pressure on the quarterback, which we haven't been doing too much of. And I think that had more to do with just being off, like being up in a game. You haven't been up in a game, so you haven't been able to really just go after some guy. You haven't been able to just send a bunch of blitzes like Ron Roberts did. But at the end of the day, I think the reason we look like the team we expected to see at the start of the year is just that deep passing game. DJ Lagway looked comfortable. He looked on time. And the run game, establishing the run, just made life so much easier for them on offense.
I'm going to sound like a Disney Gator, but I think if Dallas Wilson plays week 1 through 4, we're undefeated.
That is not at all, dangerous to say. I would say that is not. Because if you think about it, if we look back, and I know, people are going to call us Disney Gators, whatever. USF, they were, I would argue, even without him, they should have won that game. I think everyone knew they should have won that game. But with him, you expect him to make 1 or 2 plays, and you win that game. You don't let them go down the field and kick a field goal to end that game, whatever. Then you move to LSU. I would argue, we were in that game the whole time. The pick 6 kind of put us out of that game. But if you imagine Dallas Wilson again making a play or 2, that game could be different. And in Miami, Cormani McLean gets an interception. You're down by 6 points in the third quarter. I think it was late third quarter. You're telling me that a Dallas Wilson big play, which we saw multiple times in the swamp, you're telling me one play from Dallas Wilson doesn't turn that game on its side completely? I know we felt a little bad about it because it did feel like Miami's defense dominated Florida's offense. But, I do agree that one Dallas Wilson play could have changed any of those games. And obviously it's not an excuse because we still should have been way better than we were in those games. But I
Agreed.
do agree that Dallas Wilson makes this team so much better, and we were one play away in all those games, and Dallas Wilson will get you more than one play.
Agreed.
That's the end of the story.
Agreed. And he proved why he's a 5-star.
Oh,
And
man.
I hope he can go 9-3 and he stays in Gainesville, because if Billy were to get fired, he's going to be a 5-star wherever he goes.
Yeah, he's a dog, man. He's something special.
So I mean, and not to beat a dead horse, but Bob proved my point. I think Billy rotates too much with the backs because Bob proved it.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with that to an extent. I feel like, would you, in an ideal world, you'd love for Ball to carry the ball 15 times and be at 100% energy those 15 times, because then, when he's at his best and when he's explosive like that, you could see him breaking off runs for 10 plus. But at the same time, like you said, no disrespect to Jacoby, no disrespect to Duke. Obviously, the run game is still good with them, but it's just a different level with Jaden Ball. And when your offense is not good enough, where it's like, if you take off one of your best players, we'll be fine. I don't think Florida's offense, in the past at least, was good enough for that yet. I think, you see now why it's so important to have Jaden Ball on the field. And it feels like 27 carries with how this offense has looked is what they need to do consistently to win games.
Is Billy, can we call Billy bye week Billy? Because every time there's a bye week, it's like they come out and it's like the whole season started all over again.
Yeah, man. I mean, this is a thing that I love and hate about college football. It's just anything can happen at any week, and you never know why something happened. Like, you got to remember, these are kids, man. These are 18-year-olds. So it's the point where, like, we don't know if DJ Lagway really was just, he needed the practice. I mean, they had 2 weeks of practice where they went 11 on 11, best on best, and maybe that's all DJ Lagway needed. From how it looks now, that looks like what was needed. He comes back and he's himself. So, college football is just crazy because anything can happen at any time, and I don't think we'll ever know why and for what reason. But I mean, bye week Billy is something that seems true. I mean, they turned it around last year. My good friend Cam Parker tweeted out, next year they have to have the bye week 1 so they can just start off good. But I think, something we kind of overlook with the bye week is in college football, you might think you know what your team is, and you might think you know what a player is during offseason camp, but it's not until you get out there on the field against good teams like LSU and Miami where you really find out what your team is about and what you need to fix. And I think the staff has been, say what you want about their decisions before the season and being prepared coming into the season, but they are good at, fixing stuff. Last year we saw it. I think we saw, down the stretch, they had more players. They changed out who was playing a lot, and you saw people break out. You saw more usage for Elijah Badger, stuff like that. Jaden Ball breaking out. Obviously DJ Lagway. I think that's a plus of this staff is, once you get into week 4, week 5, week 6, that's when they start really understanding, what this roster is. And we saw it on the field, man. I think they looked like a completely different team after the bye. So let's hope that they can keep it up and it's not just some one-off thing, because that would be pretty neat.
Based on what we saw, can we go 9-3?
I mean, listen, I thought we could go 10-2 at the start of the year, or 9-3. That was my 9-3 or 10-2. The team we saw on Saturday was the team I was saying could go 10-2. That team was the team we expected. That team has all the talent in the world, and when DJ Lagway is at his best, there's not a team that I would take over us. You know what I mean? I mean, you look on it. I know we're gonna sound like Disney Gators. We're gonna sound biased. You have an elite defense. Every team that we've played against admits that our defense is elite. I mean, Miami fans will even tell you that was the hardest defense they'll play all year.
Yeah,
LSU
they've said
fans
it.
said the same thing.
They've said it.
When DJ Lagway is at his best and Florida is tossing the ball over the field, when DJ Lagway is the quarterback that a lot of people had ranked as the best quarterback in college football coming into the year, I mean, you combine that with Jaden Ball, with now Dallas Wilson, Vernell Brown, J. Mike, Eugene. I mean, that's an incredible football team that's really hard to beat. So, it's hard to say, yeah, we're going 9-3, guys. Like, buckle in. It's here, because we watched the last couple weeks where we looked like a completely terrible football team, even though we have so much talent. But we could definitely go 9-3. I mean, at the end of the year, I could look dumb for saying that, and we could have won 3 games. But that being said, I mean, this is a talented enough team where I think I like us against anyone at our best. And the schedule obviously is still tough, but if they can continue momentum, if Dallas Wilson can continue to be a game changer, if DJ Lagway can continue to keep form like we saw against Texas, this team is a playoff team. Obviously, you'd have to go 9-3, and you'd have to have the committee kind of forget about what they saw for the first couple weeks. But I mean, this team has all the talent to do so. So I don't hate it. I don't think I'm just going to do a complete 180 on this team just yet, because we still have coaching that a lot of people question. I'm not going to give my opinion on it because, I'm just the guy that writes about them. You know what I mean? I'm not.
But the reason I asked that question is because I believe Dallas Wilson can master part of the coaching.
Yeah, I mean, and this is what I said I said in an article I wrote about DJ Lagway. I predicted DJ Lagway's season, and I said DJ Lagway masks a lot of Billy Napier's deficiency in play calling. I don't think anyone is still arguing that Billy Napier is an awesome play caller. But when DJ Lagway is good, and when DJ Lagway is like what we saw last year and against Texas, this offense looks good. No matter if Billy Napier is calling the plays against USF and Texas, I mean, that's completely different offense when DJ Lagway is good. And the same can be said for Dallas Wilson. I mean, if those two players are playing the way we saw against Texas, where they're just complete game changers, where they can just say, I mean, DJ Lagway said it in the press conference. He said, I told Dallas, if you have press coverage on you, I'm just going to turn to you and throw you the ball. And if they can do that, it doesn't matter what play Billy Napier called. All that matters is that DJ Lagway is throwing the ball to Dallas Wilson, and they're taking over the game. You know what I mean? So I think Florida has the game changers to cover up any coaching, like you just mentioned. And I think it's just about, college football is a crazy thing, man. So they could go 9-3, and they could also just fizzle out, and we can always be like, oh, remember that Texas game where they looked elite and then they sucked for the rest of the year? You know what I mean?
Very true. I just gotta ask the questions, my friend. That's all.
I get it. Hey, listen, I'm right there with you, man. I could see 9-3.
What do you expect, even though we're gonna get into it during the pregame show, from this team going to Texas A&M? We know the road record of Billy Napier. We know the stigma. But again, can DJ Lagway, Dallas Wilson, BB3 mask his dumb play calling at some points?
Yeah, I mean, it's super tough because first of all, you look at DJ Lagway. His first real road test in the SEC, where it was like he was starting against an SEC team in a really tough environment, he threw 5 interceptions. Yes. So it's tough to be like, yeah, we're just going to get the DJ Lagway we saw against Texas, where he was super comfortable in the swamp and he was throwing dimes. It's tough to say, yeah, that's going to be the DJ Lagway we get against a good Texas A&M team, or a really good Texas A&M team. And then it's tough to say, yeah, our 2 true freshmen are going to go into Kyle Field, one of the toughest places to play. And as true freshmen, they're just going to dominate and turn that game around. So I think Texas A&M is a really hard, one to kind of turn around and have to play after you just looked really good. I think last year when we had our big turnaround, it really helped that we had LSU in the swamp and then Ole Miss in the swamp, where it felt like, we're at home, we can build on our comfort without having to go and get, screamed at and be out of your comfort zone the whole time in a really tough environment. So that's where I worry. I think that this team is talented enough to go do it. I think this defense, I mean, they've proven they played LSU on the road and they played Miami on the road, and they looked as good as they've looked, in every game, I think. So I think this defense has proven it, and I think it's time for this offense to kind of say, hey, listen, we're ball players. We're going to go out there and compete wherever we are in whatever environment. I think it's exciting because you could tell versus Texas that DJ Lagway, I know Billy Napier said it and he kind of got joked on for it, but he had that look in his eye. And I really think a lot of it had to do with he's from Texas. He said it himself. He has a lot of friends, people he knows, enemies maybe on the other sideline against Texas and against Texas A&M. I mean, you see, I don't know if the viewers have seen a video circulating. I don't know if you've seen it, Carlos, where last year he was beefing with York, I believe, on Texas A&M. And
yes.
Yeah, that rivalry goes back to high school. So I think we're gonna get a different DJ Lagway competitive wise, because he really takes, these games against his home teams to heart. I think he was super excited to get out there versus Texas, and he showed that he's a ball player. So, that kind of excites me to see if he can keep that rolling against a team that really wanted him. I mean, they were the team that was pushing Florida. If you remember during the recruitment, kind of a lot of people were saying
it was Texas A&M.
A lot of people were saying he was going to flip to Texas A&M. Blah blah blah. They did this, they did that. So I think that adds a little bit to the flame to his fire, and I think that helps us. But it's a tough one because I'm not gonna come out here and say, yeah, they're gonna go win this game and they're gonna look like the same team because
we can't give you our predictions yet, not yet.
Yeah, well that too. But it's just a tough one because sorry about that. I think I got muted there for a second.
No problem, no worries.
But back to what I was saying, it's tough to go into a really tough environment and be confident in this offense when we've seen them in two environments and they kind of fell apart, So I think I'm still on wait and see mode before we get too spicy with our picks here.
Gator Nation, I'm going to go ahead and give you a glimpse of hope. We've only lost one SEC game. So 2-3, we're not sitting at that bad. Are we sitting bad for the playoffs? Maybe because of the committee. But we can still technically win the SEC championship game.
Season is definitely not done. I'll say that much.
So, I mean, all right, guys, I'm going to give you the PFF grades. Then I'm going to get Dylan's final thoughts. Because believe it or not, we've already been at half an hour. We can talk. We both can make a 2-hour show with the quickness. But this is a post-game show. So I just want to get Dylan's final thoughts, and we'll see you guys on Saturday, which we record on Thursdays. And we have Brendan Olsen from Gators, Locked On Gators coming on. He's in Europe, but he's going to come on at the time we record. PFF grades. Defensive PFF grades. Sapp, 87.1. Miles Graham, 76.6. Devin Moore, 76.5. And another question just popped up in my head, so I'll ask you that one. Brendan Taylor Jr. was playing awesome on Saturday night. 76.3. I think that should have been higher. My Jaden Robinson, also 76.3. Sharif Denson, 74.1. Michael Caraway, 72.1. Makai B, I'm not going to murder his last name, 71.3. Carmine James, 67.2. And Jaden Woods, which I found this kind of low when I saw it from Brandon Olson's post. 66.4. That kind of shocked me. DJ Lagway 64.3. Jake Slaughter 63.0. J. Michael Stewart events 61.5. Roderick is at 60.7. Tyreek Sapp against the run was a 90.4. Give me your final thoughts, and we won't go into much detail because obviously we got the pregame show. How many more games does Billy have to win so he stays the Gators head coach? Also, is DJ Lagway hurt because he threw a pass? I don't know if you saw it. You were on the field, so it's probably hard to see it. I saw it on TV, and it kind of scared me because he was kind of limping.
Yeah, I'll answer the DJ one first. He did get banged up. I mean, he said it in the press conference. Napier said it too. He got banged up. Napier said he'll be fine. They expect him to practice. Lagway said, I've been here before, which it was tough to hear from your quarterback because he has been banged up so much, and you kind of feel for the guy. But I don't think it's anything too worrisome. You know, it sucks because it continues to feel like you never have seen DJ Lagway fully healthy since maybe the first couple of games of his freshman year. And so that really sucks. But, I mean, just imagine. Hopefully one day we get to see that, and it's going to be special, I can imagine. For the Napier, you said how many games does he need to win?
How many games does he need to win to be safe? 8-4 make it?
I think 9. I mean, 8-4, unfortunately, I think that our decision makers will accept 8-4, and I don't think that's, what they should do. But I think 8-4 gets it done for him just because I think that's kind of, they came into the season expecting somewhere around 8 to 9 wins where you can push yourself into the playoff. I can see a world where he goes 8 wins and they say he turned it around again. Obviously, it sucks that we started out so bad, but we'll heavily reprimand him for that, but he'll stick with the job. I think if I was making a decision, he would have to win 9 games. I mean, you came into this year saying this is a playoff team. He himself was telling people this was a playoff team. You see it on the field. They're a playoff talented team. I mean, this defense is this defense is championship caliber. And this offense, as much as they failed our team so far, they have the talent to be easily one of the better offenses in the nation. I mean, it's crazy to say because they've been so bad, but they do have that. So if I was deciding it'd have to be 9-3 and you'd have to, make the playoffs. Obviously, if he goes 9-3 and doesn't make the playoffs, I think you still have an argument for him to keep his job just because if you win out, with this team, they're probably going to look really good. And you're probably saying, would I rather keep Billy Napier for another year and maybe make internal changes to the point where we'll be ready next season, or would I rather watch this super talented team leave after 9 wins? You know what I mean? I think that's where the decision gets tough. So I think my answer to that was 8-4 is probably makes it realistic for the decision makers to decide, let's keep them. But I'm sticking with 9-3. You got to go make the playoffs here because at the end of the day, that was everyone's expectation inside the building, and it's proven that they should. As for final thoughts, those PFF grades, nothing really too surprising. Like you said, Jaden Woods. I mean, there was a phenomenal play by Jaden Woods. He sniffed out a screen pass and he absolutely blew up some guy. That was awesome. I think he's kind of one of those players where the stats haven't come for him yet, but he's looked like everyone's heard, and he's looked really, really good. I don't think he's had that game yet where he's blown up, but he's looked really good. I think the one player I left Saturday kind of worried about, and not even worried, just more disappointed in that specific performance, was Cormani McClain. I mean, I don't think it was a secret that he was getting kind of toasted out there. He was getting picked on a little bit by Texas. Napier mentioned that Texas and Sarkisian did a really great job of finding the one-on-one, and Cormani's position, he was going to be the guy that was in the one-on-one every play. And I think that kind of shows, they have a lot of confidence in him. And so, it was a tough game for him. I expect him to bounce back. I think he's been playing really well on the year. And other than that, yeah, I'm super excited for the offense. Dallas Wilson is special. I mean, that was when I was watching, I couldn't believe my eyes, man. Every time, I was taking pictures, I had my camera. I was about to just keep it on Dallas Wilson every offensive play. I was like, at this point, dude, like that's the best shot at getting any pictures because he's our whole offense.
I was on your Twitter trying to find the clip of the 55-yard touchdown, and I was like, damn, he doesn't have it.
Dude, I was mad because I was just watching in disbelief during that play. I was like, I should be recording, but oh my gosh, I'm just gonna enjoy this moment.
And he ran over the DB, like completely dragged him into the end zone.
That was right in front of me. My mom sent me a picture from TV. They have me I think you can see my jaw dropped in the picture.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
But he's special, man. VB3 is also special, and I think before we freak out and we kind of say we're back, you got to see it on the road against a really good Texas A&M team, and you got to see, as much as I expect Dallas to keep it going, and I expect DJ to keep it going, you got to see them kind of stack. Consistency's been a problem with DJ Lagway, and consistency's been a problem with this whole offense. So, it's a wait and see for me still, but that made me feel a lot better on Saturday. I'll tell you that.
The only time I'm going to say we're fully back is if we're 9-3, even if we don't make the playoffs, because I think at that point we get robbed. And if we're 9-3, we should be in the top 12 easily, but we're not the committee, and we blew the first 4 games.
Yeah, I as someone who doesn't, really have any say in it, I do find it hard to believe that 9-3 doesn't get you in the playoff. It feels like the committee doesn't value early games as much as they value down the road. And okay. if you're kind of rolling like that and you've won, I think it'll be 8 straight.
You've won 8 straight and you've beaten like 5 or 6 top 25 teams.
Yeah, I think that. I don't want to talk too prematurely.
I don't either, but we need to talk about it because they put the meal on the table with that win yesterday on Saturday.
But I think it's almost impossible that they don't make it if they've won 8 straight against that schedule, unless somehow there's a million teams that are have a better resume, and I doubt that there will be 2 teams that have a better resume at that point. So. We'll have to see, but it's an exciting thought for sure.
I'm gonna ask you a hypothetical question before we get out of here, and where you tell the people that where they can find you. 9-3 Florida versus a 10-2 Notre Dame. Who makes the playoffs?
Oh, that's a tough one, man. 9-3 Florida. Oof. I think where it becomes super tough is Notre Dame played Miami closer in the sense of how those games felt than Florida did. And, that shared opponent factor kind of comes in.
That's why I put it in there.
Yeah, but, I find it so hard to believe that with Notre Dame's schedule, you're picking Notre Dame over a Florida team that just ran through a gauntlet. No matter what, even if Tennessee falls off a cliff and they somehow turn into a really bad team, even if Georgia turns into a really bad team, even if, a couple of these teams.
No, Georgia can stay at number 3 or whatever they are now until we beat them.
That's what I mean. Even if they end up having worse seasons than we expect, the fact that Florida beats them is not going to be overlooked. If you go on and beat a bunch of SEC teams with, that pedigree, there's going to be too much hype for them to leave us out. So I got to pick Florida here. Maybe,
okay.
Is there a world where that happens and they pick Notre Dame? Yes. Would that be the craziest day on Twitter I think I've ever seen? 100%. That would be wild. I would be on Twitter all day. I'd have to apologize to my wife, but I'd be on Twitter all day, neglecting my family over here. But I think that you put Florida in.
Okay. We'll leave that door. We'll leave that conversation and that door open for when it comes. I feel like we are headed in the right direction because I feel like we have a dynamic duo like we did in the '90s, especially 1997, to mention the year where we ended up playing Florida State twice and splitting the games, but winning the one that counted the most, which was the national championship. Where can they find your work?
Yes, sir.
Where can they find your work, buddy?
You can find my work at Gators on SI, Florida Gators on SI. I'll be, still covering football. I just finished up at basketball, so I'm covering a little basketball, and baseball season just started. So
yes,
a lot of fun going on here. Check out my work. Obviously, check out all my coworkers. They got awesome stuff too. And then Dylan Olive _UF on Twitter. I post quite a bit out there. I'll try to, give you some articles on there and give you some laughs. So check out my work there, and I appreciate you, Carlos, and I appreciate the channel.
Guys, the Gators SI, they're not only a team, but I consider them family. I talked to a bunch of them. I talked to about 4 of them. I'm going to end up adding a number 5 after Dylan does me a favor and texts Kyle. But they're basically family to me because they're helping me out with the channel and growing the audience. And they got a special place in my heart. Like always, stay positive, stay on your grind, and go Gators. Peace.